So, as we all know, the memorial service for Charlie Kirk took place yesterday, and there were so many amazing speeches, and it was really interesting to hear more about who Charlie Kirk was as a person and what he meant to different people in different ways. And it was just such a huge impact. And I know that we saw the crowd turn out, and I don't know what the final estimate of the number was, the number of people that showed up, but it was massive. It was estimated, I think, that there was gonna be about 100,000 people show up, and I know that there was multiple times that number that, showed up, even if they had to watch or listen from a distance, they just wanted to be there, and I know that there are a ton of clips that we could go through, and we could be here for 24 hours just dissecting everything that was said, but today I wanted to focus specifically on Erika Kirk, because there were a couple of things that she said that spoke to what's been on my mind lately, and also that I think give us a glimpse as to what her specific purpose and mission is going to be as the new CEO of Turning Point USA. We're seeing a few things that have come from this tragic event. We're seeing obviously a lot of sadness and anger and people wondering how we move forward. I think that path is becoming increasingly more clear. We're seeing a revival of people going back to church and picking up Bibles and trying to develop or renew their relationship with God and Jesus Christ. And there's just more of a defined line between good and evil than we've ever seen before. And I think there are things that she said and highlighted in her speech versus what was going on outside of the memorial with some of the protesters and some of the responses that we've seen online to the memorial that really make the choice very distinct about what path you can choose and what the outcome will likely be. So I'm going to tie all of this together. So please stick with me through the end, even if you have to hit that settings button and play it on a 1.5 speed as I do with most of my videos. But before we get too much further, I am Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you so much for being here. Please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for doing both of those things. So let's get to this speech by Erika Kirk. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I know her entire speech is on multiple platforms online. It's about 30 minutes long, but there's a couple of clips that I want to point to specifically, and then we will look at a couple of responses to what was said and obviously some of the not very kind things, but I think it's very important to highlight again the distinction between what was going on inside this event versus what was going on outside, and how this really again highlights the choice that people have about what direction they want to go in, because we are seeing more and more clearly what each direction, what result that will provide for you as an individual, whether it be a path of good and light and joy even in the most tragic of circumstances, or continuous misery and hostility and anger. And that distinction is becoming even more clear. So this first clip is where she's talking about how Charlie would keep a journal. And she's talking specifically about the hope that he had for this revival that we are seeing now, where people are going to church perhaps for the first time in their lives or for the first time in a really long time, or they're picking up a Bible and they can't really quite explain that pull, but they are taking those steps in that journey, in their spiritual journey, in their religious journey, and just trying to figure out what that relationship between themselves and God looks like.
Every time you make a decision, it puts a mark on your soul. To those of you out there who just made that decision and took the first step toward a spiritual life, I say thank you and welcome. One day I hope you look back and realize it was the most important decision of your life, because it is. All of you who are already believers, it is your job to shepherd these people. Do not take that lightly. Water the seed of their faith. Protect it and help it grow. Every day as Charlie rode into the office, he would go through his contact list, and I know there's many of you who were impacted by this. He would go through his contact list and send Bible verses for the day. He knew that faith was a habit. The more you live it, the more it grows. But know this too, the seed has only just been planted. The enemy will tempt you the most in a time like this one. God will always be there for you, but you must choose to mark your soul again and again in the direction of Christ. Pray again, read the Bible again, go to church next Sunday and the Sunday after that, and break free from the temptations and shackles of this world. Being a follower of Christ is not easy. It's not supposed to be. Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. He said he would be persecuted. He said we would be persecuted. And Charlie knew that and happily carried his cross all the way to the end.
The reason that I wanted to point to that clip specifically is because there are so many people taking this step on their spiritual journey. And sometimes taking that first step can be almost the easiest part, even though that is difficult in and of itself. But after that, I mean, you are still going to be tempted, and Satan or the adversary or whatever you want to call him is going to hammer down on you and try to make you focus on your faults and make you focus on your mistakes and your sins, and convince you that you're not good enough to be there, and convince you that everybody there has been there forever and they're judging you because you haven't been, or they're judging you for your mistakes, and whatever Satan can use to make you doubt that this is the right thing for you. It's going to be very difficult. And, she's encouraging those of us that have been a part of Christianity, a part of religion, kind of in this spiritual space for a long time, to find those people and to welcome them and to let them know that they are welcome there and that nobody's judging them. And if you are, well, then you need to fix that in yourself, because we're not judging anybody here. That's for God to do. And to also remind people that this is a choice that you have to make every single day. And that choice includes creating habits like reading your Bible and praying and going to church consistently, even when it's really hard, because those are the things that are going to reinforce that choice and help you understand who God is and who Jesus Christ is, and understand their love for you regardless of how imperfect you are. But once you start to let those things slide, it becomes easier to be tempted away from that. And those are things that, even as someone that's been a Christian my whole life and attended church regularly my entire life, that's something that I have to tell myself to do, that I still have to work at, because I'm so imperfect. And this is so hard, especially in the day and age that we live in. This is the part of her speech that really resonated and really hit everybody hard. And I think you guys know the clip that I'm talking about, the statement that she made about the man who took Charlie's life. So I will let her share that in her own words.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
Her statement is that she forgives the man who took Charlie's life. And I know that a lot of us sometimes struggle to understand forgiveness, but from my perspective and what I've learned throughout my years in church and just studying the gospel, is that forgiveness it doesn't mean that what someone did was okay. It doesn't mean that there shouldn't be consequences or accountability. There should absolutely be justice. And this person is in jail where he belongs for his crime. And I know that there are some very severe punishments potentially coming his way. And that is something that God advocates for as well. Forgiveness and justice. The forgiveness part of it is for healing. Hopefully it will heal this man's life and his mind and his heart if possible, but that's not for us to decide. But it's also for us. When we forgive others, we let go of the anger and the rage, because as we see every single day, we can see what anger and rage does to people. It is so poisonous. And that is something that I have tried really hard to avoid, is being angry and to feel rage in this situation, and pretty much any situation, because I know that once you go down that path, it is really easy to stay there. And I am afraid of that kind of poison in my life. It's to heal our hearts and to let go of these things and let God judge, let justice take care of the crime so that we can release the things that might drag us down, to essentially let go of that weight so that we can focus on the things that are important and focus on our spiritual path, our spiritual journey, focus on our relationship with Jesus Christ and continuing to reach those that can be reached. But I said in the beginning that I feel like a lot of this ties into what Erika Kirk, what her specific mission will be as CEO of Turning Point USA. Because as we saw outside of the memorial, there were protesters out there. I think there were only a few, but of course there were going to be, because there are apparently people that feel that it's appropriate to protest a funeral. But one of the most viral moments was from this woman who was sitting outside watching people leave the service, and she yelled something absolutely horrendous at a woman who was pregnant that was leaving the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
Oh my God.
So if you couldn't hear it quite clearly, she yelled, "I hope your baby dies," at the woman that was walking by, the pregnant woman walking by that was leaving the service. Before I get to why I think that this ties into some of the things that Erika Kirk was saying, I will show a couple of other responses that I saw on TikTok. I just found a couple of videos from liberal women who responded to Erika Kirk's speech. And needless to say, the party of love and compassion and empathy were not very loving, compassionate, or empathetic toward this woman. So we'll look at a couple of these.
How else to say this, but Erika Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, is a deeply unsettling person to watch. I watched a couple clips. I happened to be on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I happened to be on Twitter when she went live, and I watched like a couple minutes of it, and it was so weird. Why did I think she wouldn't be weird? I've never heard her talk. I've only seen photos. I don't follow any of them or whatever. Of course not. But that was weird.
I personally think that she was unsettling for you to watch, because when you're possessed, anybody that shines light on that is going to make the demon inside of you a little bit restless. Just saying. Here's another one.
I don't believe Erika Kirk at all. There's something about her eyes, bro. She's so performative, her head on Trump's chest, and he's patting her back. She's on his chest like she's a little kid in front of the entire nation, and her hooking herself up to a mic next to her husband's casket and whispering to him and making sure that we hear the ASMR of her being like, I love you so much. And full face of makeup.
Interesting that the party of sympathy, compassion, humanity, all of these things has absolutely no idea what it looks like when someone actually has emotions. They're the ones that claim to be empathetic constantly, which means that you can feel what somebody else is feeling because you've experienced it. Yet they clearly have none of that, because they're looking at somebody who is grieving, that has had a loss, that is going through an unimaginable tragedy on a very public stage, and trying to keep her composure while probably wanting to curl up in the fetal position and never come out of that again. That's probably how she's feeling. Yet these people that claim to be women supporting women and, believe all women and women this, women that, you have to be a girl's girl, all of these things, fail to demonstrate that pretty much ever. I saw a lot of women mocking her, the way that she was speaking and her breathiness, and why was she talking like that? I cannot even imagine trying to get these words out and sound intelligible, actually being able to enunciate anything. This woman is having to take deep breaths in between every single sentence so that she can speak. If you have ever had a moment where you are crying, as I know these liberal women do every single day, probably on a minute-by-minute basis, because something is always triggering them, it can be very difficult to speak when you are upset. So It's weird that I have to explain what people go through when they're emotional to people who operate solely on emotions. They don't really seem to understand what they are. Tie all of this together and what the mission I believe Erika Kirk will be on as she moves forward. Charlie Kirk did a great job of reaching young men. And we've seen over the last few years that men have been leaning more and more conservative because Charlie Kirk spoke to them. He talked to them about the issues that mattered to them. He gave them permission to be men again, to lead homes, to do the things that inherently make sense to them. And therefore, they feel at peace with who they are. And they don't experience this constant inner conflict with themselves because they're not constantly fighting against who they want to be, because that's how God made them, in order to please who the world thinks that they should be. So it's this inner turmoil that they're constantly in. And a lot of men found peace when Charlie Kirk told them, like, this is who you're meant to be, embrace it. And those things aligned with the conservative party, where we're not trying to feminize you and we're not trying to replace you with women, or not trying to put your voice below women because you're inherently evil and want to oppress them. Said that it's a good thing that this is who you want to be, embrace it, and be the best version of yourself that you can. But reaching women, especially for Charlie Kirk, apparently has been near impossible because he's a man and they hate men and they don't want to listen to men at all because they think that that means that they are giving up their rights or whatever. So I think that it's going to be Erika Kirk's job to move forward with Turning Point USA and to reach women, break down that hostility, to break down the false narrative that men are their enemy, that America was built on a patriarchal society meant to keep women and minorities down. The false narrative that following God means that you have to give up your rights and your autonomy and give up your mind and your soul and let other people tell you what to do for the rest of your life. Break down the barriers that are keeping them from building that relationship with God and going on their own spiritual journey and being allowed to be who they were meant to be, created in the image of God. I think Erika Kirk, that is going to be her purpose. I think God is probably looking at them as a couple and saying, Charlie brought me my sons. He reached my sons, brought them back on this spiritual journey. Erika, you got to bring me back my daughters. You got to reach them. She definitely has her work cut out for her.
The world needs Turning Point USA. It needs a group that will point young people away from the path of misery and sin. It needs something that will lead people away from hell in this world and in the next. It needs young people pointed in the direction of truth and beauty. And so I promise you today, every part of our work will become greater. I am tremendously honored to be the new CEO of Turning Point USA. I do not take that lightly. Charlie and I were united in purpose. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission. Everything that Turning Point USA built through Charlie's vision and hard work, we will make 10 times greater through the power of his memory. Chapters will grow, thousands of new ones will be created. TPUSA Faith will add thousands of new pastors and congregations. And yes, campus events will continue, and we will continue to hold debates and dialogue.
And this is where I think the contrast between what was going on in the memorial service versus what was going on outside of it and what the other responses have been highlight the different choice that people have, that women have in particular. Can align yourself with people that want you to be strong and want you to overcome and do not see you as a victim, because Erika Kirk could very much embrace victimhood right now. And of all people, she would have the right to do so. But she is demonstrating that you are not a victim unless you choose to be, and that you have to continue to move forward, and that there's a greater purpose in all of it. And she's demonstrating what that looks like, to not be held back by anger, to not choose that path because it will inhibit your potential and what you are here to do as a human being, as a child of God. And you can choose that path versus what's happening outside of that memorial, where you have people sitting on the sidewalk with a sign. We have a woman yelling at another woman that she hopes her baby dies. And you have these other women mocking somebody who they should be embracing and trying to comfort in her time of need, but instead mocking her and being just truly poisonous and heartless and soulless, the complete opposite of sympathetic, empathetic, and compassionate, the total opposite of that, truly seeming to be possessed by demons. It's highlighting the different paths, what conservatism offers people versus what liberalism offers people, what liberalism offers women. I think Erika Kirk is going to help women see that more clearly and define that choice even more clearly, regardless of what choice it is that they make, but understanding that if you choose to go this way towards God, towards the light, towards people that want you to succeed and want you to be the best version of yourself, this is the result that you will get. You could be somebody like Erika Kirk, who is clearly very strong, clearly very demonstrative of what it looks like to be empowered as a woman. Or you can go this way and be poisonous and yell and scream at women about their babies dying and embrace death and celebrate the death of other people and totally lose your soul and your humanity. That's the choice. And she is going to highlight that more so than I think we've ever seen. But that is all I have for you in this one. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please, again, be sure to hit the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on all other platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Outspoken Samantha, or Outspoken Sam, I think is what I am on TikTok. On X. But as you know, we always end with a clip of Charlie Kirk. So keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
The spiritual battle is coming to the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it. Yep.